So they came close the main cities in the West Bank. Now what happened is these people, they are still waiting since 67 years to go back to their home. Now Palestinian refugees today who were registered officially in the United Nations as refugees are 12 million. 12 million refugees. We have some of them in the West Bank, but the rest of them, they are in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, especially that people who were like in Haifa. They were on the sea, so they took their boats to Lebanon. People who were here from the area around, some of them they walked to Jordan between Nazareth and Jenin. So depend the area where they are, they moved, depend of the situation. Now some people, what happened for us is 1967, as you know that Palestine or the West Bank, it was part of Jordan until they solved the problem for Palestine. Now what happened is when it was the war in 1967, that by chance it was few days ago, the memory for that war, a lot of the people, they were working in Amman, the capital of Jordan. So when it happened, the war, they closed the borders and all these people, they were not allowed to go back again to their land. This is how we have more people became refugees outside. Now the Palestinian refugees, they have the right of the return 191 as the United Nations. And these people, they refuse to leave this right. They are committed to their right to go back to their homeland. Now if we come to see on the ground, the reality, what you are going to find is, if we bring all these refugees back to their land, that means Palestinians, they will be again more than Israeli in the land. Now, this thing, it will change the demography of Israel. But that doesn't mean we bring the file of these people to the negotiation table. They need to discuss it. There is solutions. You can send, for example, a sample number back to the land, back to their home. And the rest of them, they can find a solution for them. Whatever, building cities between the areas and the West Bank, between Nablus and Jenin, between Jericho, Ramallah, between Bethlehem and Ramallah. So they must find space where they can give them the chance to go back, part of them to the land. Now some Arab countries, not like Lebanon of course, because Lebanon, they refuse to give the citizenship for the Palestinians there as supporting the right of the refugee as the international law. But for example, maybe we can find Jordan. Maybe they can give the citizenship for a good number of Palestinians who are there, refugees. And these people, maybe they will accept that. So you must bring that file to the table first, so people, they can discuss it, they can talk about it. Then even if the refugees, the Palestinian refugees, they have the right, personally I believe, to vote on any decision will these people, they will make. Because as you know, politicians, sometimes they are away from the people. So they don't know exactly what they need. Yes.
Why do you think for Palestinians refugee status is passed on to their children?
It's
refugee status is passed on to the children. They pass the refugee status on to their children with each generation.
Because this is the international law. Generations after generations, if you are inside the camp, let me tell you something about the refugee camp. What's the refugee camp? When these refugees, they immigrated, they left their land, it's not immigration, they left by force their homeland. What happened is, when they arrived, for example, as an example we are giving, but it worked with all the sites, when they arrived to Jenin, United Nations, they gave them the right of refugee, and they registered them, and they rented for them a piece of land 1 kilometer square, and they supported them with tents. So these people, they built their tents here. In the place of the tents, I call it steps. This is the first step, people, they built their tents. Second step, people, they found it's long. As you see here, there is mantle. They started to use the mantle to build their houses. After that, they moved to the third part. They built houses on the place of the tent, because each one he became at his area. Now these tents, it became a camp today. It became buildings. And this has happened, if you like to see that, you can see that, the Syrian refugees. See images for the Syrian refugees 2 years ago, you will find them in tents. Have a look these days, you will find them, they move and they build some rooms with any rubbish, mental they find, they buy, they start to build rooms in the place. Now as the international law, if you're born for a refugee family and you are a refugee, as it happened anywhere in the world, not only in our area, this is not a law especially for us. For example, if there is a refugee family in Sweden and they ask for their right to be a refugee, they immigrated and they have a child born there, this child, he is a refugee because they are not citizens. So they give it for each others until they became citizens. They can give the citizenship. So if I'm a Palestinian in one of the Western countries and I'm a refugee, my child, he's a refugee until I have my citizenship, so I can give him the citizenship with me. This is how it works. Now these people here, who's responsible of this area? United Nations. Palestinian Authority, even if now in the Palestinian Authority they are responsible of the area, they are not responsible of the camps. As the international law, it's still the camps, the responsibility of UNRWA, the organization for the refugees, the United Nations Organization for Refugees. They are responsible, and as I show you in the morning, I told you in front of Jacobs, well, there was another camp and you saw one of the schools. Now that school, it's a school for the children of the camp, and who offer the school for them is the United Nations, the UNRWA. They offer for them education, healthcare, and all these, they try to organize their life, they try to give them services. And now these services, what's the hard part of it? It's they started to cut a lot of salaries. They tried to stop a lot of services for the Palestinian refugees, and the reason why, because they started to have Syrian refugees. Another big case that need a huge amount of fund. A lot of the Western countries, they refuse even if to put some fund. So that's make it more complicated. Nobody can put fund by force. But the situation for these refugees, the services, it became less than before because of what they are facing these days. Now we are going to have short walk inside the camp because all the camp it's the same. So when we have that short walk inside, that will give you an idea. And after that, as I told you, we are going to take our bus to Jenin, that city, in the market. If you like to walk there half an hour to have your own walk in the town, you can do that before we take our bus back. If you have any questions more, feel free to ask any question you have. If I have the answer of your question, I'm going to answer you. If you like to know more about these facts, on the internet, I know because it's a big case. I'm trying to summarize the problem in a few minutes. There is on the internet a site for the United Nations, it's called OCHA. If you go to that website, you are going to find all the information about politically, about the West Bank, about the settlements, about the water, because the water, it's one of the cases for us, it's really hard. That's why you can see a lot of tanks on the roof of the houses, because they supply us with the water once monthly in the summertime, and winter time each 2 weeks once. So the family, they must gather the water in these tanks to use it and to survive until the next time they supply them with water. And the reason why, because Israel, they control the water of the West Bank and they sell it for us. So we pay our own water, not the Palestinian Authority taking the money, Israel taking the money. Now here again another problem. If you come to the international law, Israel as occupation, as the United Nations, they recognize Israel its occupation for the West Bank. They have responsibilities, but they are not giving these responsibilities back to the people. So let's have a little walk inside, please. That will give you an idea about the life of the refugees. And also, we never had a Jordanian citizenship.
Even when they were part of Jordan?
No. We have a passport, and there is a letter at the back of the passport, letter P as Palestine. That means you are a Palestinian. And you can use that document as a travel document, but that's not a citizenship. You don't have a right as a
So do most Palestinians in the West Bank have that?
For example, my father, he used to have that. He doesn't